You've asked me to have a listen to Sarah's interview that she had in the detective's car. I have it now. Let's go.
And the front seat is, can you state your name, ma'am?
Sarah Boone.
Okay, and your birthday?
10/10/77.
Okay. So, Sarah, I know you have talked to some deputies. I know we had a very brief conversation just to reiterate what you told that deputy. But like I was explaining, I would like to get a more further understanding of what happened last night and ask you more detailed questions. I am going to read you your rights, but it's just because that's how we do things, okay? So you do have the right to remain silent, okay? Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Anything you say may be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer before and during questioning without charge. If you cannot afford a lawyer and want one can be provided for you before questioning without charge. Has anyone threatened you or promised you anything to get you to talk to me?
No.
Do you understand what I just read you?
Yes.
Okay. So, last night you said that you and your boyfriend George were here at your residence and didn't really leave that day. You said that he went to the store to buy cigarettes.
Yes.
What time was that around? If you recall. Was it light out still? Dark out?
Yes, it was light out still.
It was still light out. Okay. But he's the only person that left and he came back,
Yes.
I'm assuming? Okay.
It's right down the street.
It's down the street. Okay. And tell me what you guys were doing next. Like what was happening?
We had a bottle of wine. We painted. We drew. We did puzzles.
Do you remember what wine you guys were drinking?
Sarah paused after saying, "We did puzzles." I wish the detective would have just waited. Let the interviewee sit with the silence, see how long it takes for them to respond.
It's Woodbridge Chardonnay.
Okay.
The bottles are in the trash.
Okay. Chardonnay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you remember around, like, what time this was that you guys were sharing the bottle of wine, painting, doing puzzles?
I'm going to say 4-ish.
Okay. And was this before he went to the store or after?
I'm sorry?
Had he already gotten home from the store at this point to buy the cigarettes?
Yes.
Okay. So it was around 4 p.m.
Ish.
that you realized, and you guys were doing...
Puzzles and art.
Okay.
Listening to music, enjoying each other's company.
The use of the phrase enjoying one another's company or enjoying each other's company is a flag. It's the subject wanting to make sure that those listening know that the relationship was fine. It was good. It tells you the relationship was not fine.
And all downstairs, upstairs? Where did you guys... Downstairs. Okay.
We usually sit on the back porch because we smoke and you're not allowed to smoke inside, so.
Okay. And who was here last night? Was it just the two of you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay. No one ever came over at any point?
No.
No? Okay.
We called his daughters on FaceTime.
Okay.
We were just literally just enjoying one another's company.
A non-leading question would have been better. So instead of saying all upstairs or downstairs, a better question would have been where? However, the issue of whether it was all upstairs or downstairs is important here. If Sarah says everything happened downstairs and they can prove that something occurred upstairs, as we now know it did, it will be harder for her to explain it. So I'm just making note here that Sarah said they were downstairs and on the back porch. She has not, however, positively stated that they were never upstairs.
Okay. And you guys share the phone that you have,
Yes.
correct? Okay. And the phone's located in there, I think, in the
Yes.
kitchen area? Yeah. Okay. So tell me what happens next. You're painting, you guys are doing this puzzle together, you obviously finished the bottle of wine.
Yes.
Did you have 1 or 2 bottles of wine?
We now know that Sarah was trying to get him off the phone when he was talking to his family, but detectives couldn't have known that at the time of this interview. I'd expect they'd interview the daughters about that interaction. Has anyone heard any interviews with the daughters? I haven't, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. And notice she repeats, they were enjoying each other's company. The detective says, you obviously finished the bottle of wine. And it was the detective who put that in a place in the timeline. When they were done painting and doing puzzles, they may or may not have finished the bottle of wine at that point. The point at which the bottle was emptied and how much each had to drink may matter a great deal depending on all the other facts and circumstances and which defense the interviewee may choose to use if arrested. So, for the detective to insert this into any point of the timeline is problematic.
Well, we had one previously that was maybe not even half full.
Okay.
But then...
So you finished that one and then you had the full one?
Yes.
Okay.
And sorry, what was the question?
What'd you guys do next after the bottle of wine? Like after you finished the wine?
We had the bottle of wine while we were doing our arts and crafts.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we were puzzled out, we were painted out.
Mm-hmm.
So, being silly, let's play hide and seek, which we have played before. Like, I don't know if you've opened the door on the top of the stairwell, like, he and I have hidden in there before. Like, just having fun and enjoying each other's company.
Unnecessary explanation here. She makes a point of saying they'd played hide and seek before and even points out a hiding place in the residence to bolster the story. This tells me they did not play hide and seek. This is the third time Sarah has said they were enjoying each other's company. She really wants to convince everyone of this. She's working to hide what was really going on.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's literally all it was. And then the suitcase is...
That's literally all it was? Convincing language? She's betraying herself, telling the detective that's not literally or all it was.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's literally all it was. And then the suitcase is downstairs because I was telling you we were getting ready to do donations. Mm-hmm. And because it's not a very good suitcase, what was the question? I'm sorry.
She'd been asked earlier about where the suitcase was kept and why it was downstairs. So now she knows she has to come up with an explanation for this. She's mentally scrambling for it. Notice the change in cadence. She's a bit halting in her speech. This is off baseline, even for the stressful situation. She's struggling. She was trying to explain but couldn't come up with all that she needed. She asks for a bailout by saying, what was the question? And she's given the bailout.
You were just explaining to me the night.
Oh, he decided to hide in there. So, being silly, he and I were sitting there laughing at it, like with him in there. And then...
This is at least the second time she has said, being silly. It's like on some level, she knows how silly her story is. She interrupts herself to inject that they were sitting there laughing at it with him in there. A variation on the concept of enjoying each other's company, having a good time. But she's also blaming the victim, suggesting he consented to this. And then, followed by a long pause, she's hiding something right there.
And then... So I didn't zip it up all the way.
The words "and then" would make the listener expect that what follows will be the next event in the sequence. But no, she switches to an explanation of what she didn't do. Clearly, her goal is self-protection, not to provide the truth.
But, I mean, enough to where his little fingers were out there and whatever.
She's not speaking fluidly. She says she didn't zip it up all the way. This statement will be used against her. She claims she left his little fingers out there. The use of the word little is strange here. He's a grown man. She may be thinking about the time she put her son in a suitcase in order to fabricate her story here. Whatever. Okay, Letitia.
But still having a good time and whatever.
Having a good time again. I've lost count of how often she's injected this concept in just this one interview. And the whatever is tacked onto it here again. Uh-huh.
Then I guess I decided to go upstairs.
And then she skips over major details and time. I guess. What do you mean you guess? You guess you decided. That's not the same as actually going upstairs. Again, she's skipping things. I will note that decided goes to the mental element. She didn't fall up the stairs or teleport. She decided. The I guess isn't a guess. It's her withholding. I know people are going to use this to defend her, to say she guesses because she was so drunk she doesn't remember anything. I disagree. She is not the first criminal to use I guess. She has repeatedly and forcefully lied. Hide and seek. Everything was fine. He was laughing about it. I could go on. And she guesses that she decided, not that she went. So it's not like she found herself upstairs and thought, gee, I obviously went upstairs. No, it's, I guess I decided. Translation. Obviously, I left him there, but I can't come out and admit it, and I don't want to give details, so I'll say I guess. I want to point out that the use of a substance that is a disinhibitor does not create a new person. It disinhibits. It releases what is already there. It was Sarah who took the action that incapacitated him. She may have a defense to that part. We don't know. We don't know any of the details of that because that's the big event she's hiding. But the subsequent actions were also Sarah's. And this is who she is. Whether her disinhibition was chemically induced or not, it's mere disinhibition. And she chose to mock him as he begged for his life. She chose to keep him forcibly confined. She chose to go upstairs and leave him there. She chose to call her ex in the morning instead of 911. She chose not to do CPR. She chose to lie to police and continues to make that choice.
And I don't know if I fell asleep.
Listen to what she actually said there. And I don't know if I fell asleep. Personally, I don't think she's saying, I don't know if I fell asleep. I think she started to say something else, I don't know if, and then changed her mind and said, I fell asleep. This is my read of it. Others may see it differently. Note she doesn't say she sat on her bed or whether or not she even went straight to her room. Just that she went upstairs. For all we know, she could have taken a bath, read a book, done 25 other things. So she has been hiding time and omitting details right from the beginning. That is on top of the blatant lying. What detectives didn't know at the time of this interview, but now know, is that she called Brian that night after Mr. Torres was already in the suitcase and before she went to sleep.
So I woke up this morning and again thought he was downstairs on the laptop looking for a job, as he usually is.
Note the cadence here too. She's hiding something right here. I don't know what it is about the morning she's hiding, but she is. Maybe it will come out at trial. Maybe we'll never find out. She's explaining why she stayed upstairs in the morning. Why the need to explain? I'm telling you, she's hiding something about that morning. Is it possible that when first waking, she momentarily forgot about the previous night? I think a lot of people can relate to that. Waking up, feeling normal until the reality of a problem or a stressor sinks in. Sure, that's possible. But there's more than one indicator here that she's hiding something about the morning. And that's not including all of her other lying and hiding. Would thinking about where he is be a normal thing for her to do when she wakes up? She just said where he usually is. If this is the norm, then why is she wondering at all? I think this is a lie.
And then thought, where is he? Is he on the back porch? Is he in the bathroom? Like, where is he?
She's still in her bed. She claims she thinks he's downstairs on the laptop because that's where he usually is. So why now is she asking, where is he? Her asking if he was on the back porch or here or there might make the listener think that she was up looking for him, but she had not gotten out of bed yet. This wondering where he was is a lie. If she'd forgotten the previous night's events, she would have no reason to even ask herself, where is he?
And then I came to about the suitcase.
Interesting language. And then I came to about the suitcase. It's not I came to as in having been passed out or something. She'd already described waking up, already stated she remained in her bed for a while, already described thinking. She claimed she was wondering where he was, but I don't believe that was the subject of her thinking, but she was thinking. So came to is not a description of waking up.
So I opened the suitcase. I took him out, stretched him out, started to do CPR.
Again, the cadence is off baseline. What is she hiding about the morning? And we know she's outright lying here too. She claims she took him out, and I still think took is an interesting word choice. I've talked about this before. We know she didn't touch him until she was on the phone with 911 and they told her to do CPR. We also know she called Brian before calling 911. We know that even after that, she still didn't call 911 or try CPR. We know she called Brian a second time to make sure he was coming before she finally called 911. She never describes getting up, going downstairs, or doing any number of other things before touching the suitcase. She's hiding and lying. Does anyone think she didn't go out back for a smoke and a Dr. Pepper before doing anything? When emergency personnel arrived, she said that there was a smoke burning out on the back porch.
Started to do CPR. Where air was coming out, but, and then like whatever gurgle.
This is disjointed. Started to do CPR where air was coming out. She didn't do CPR. She then mentions the gurgle. This occurred while she was on the phone with 911, not before. We know this because we heard it on the 911 call and she shrieked when it happened. If she'd attempted CPR earlier and this happened, she wouldn't have shrieked and been so shocked when it happened.
So I'm trying to do CPR on him. Mm-hmm. I'm shaking him, trying to get him to come to, but I could tell by looking at him something was wrong. He's been losing his teeth lately.
Wow. Quick switch from the dramatic event of supposedly doing CPR and shaking him and realizing something was wrong. And this is out of order, by the way. You don't do CPR before shaking someone and realizing something is wrong. And there's no emotion in her voice. Then she switches to talking about his teeth. Sounds like she's about to try to set up the idea that maybe he was sick. Maybe this wasn't her fault.
And has been complaining about his chest hurts, which is why I keep trying to get him to go to the doctor, but because he nor I have a job or insurance, has been putting it off.
Mm-hmm. Sheesh. Sounds like Corey Richards and Lisa Darden tossing out the idea that it was something else that caused his demise. And of course, has to throw in how she's so good. She was trying to get him to go to the doctor. Subtle victim blaming here, in addition to trying to claim the cause is something other than her behavior. The victim blaming and elevation of self is in the remark about going to the doctor. The suggestion being, well, if he'd listened to me.
So again, So I didn't know what to do, so I called Brian, my ex-husband. I called him, he came over, just walked in, and then walked out. I grabbed my phone, and I called you guys. From there, here we are.
Okay.
She's skipping things again. I called Brian, then I grabbed my phone. We know she called Brian. She talked to him twice before calling 911.
The first time you woke up this morning, did you look at your phone just to see what time it was?
No.
Okay.
Most of the time, like, I'll wake up, but because he nor I have a job, I'll usually just lay in the bed for a little bit longer because the house is clean. There's nothing else that we can do. Mm-hmm. Me thinking he's on the laptop looking for jobs, I can't use the laptop. So most of the time I'll just stay in the bed and collect my thoughts and get ready for the day.
So do you have any idea what time you woke up that first time? What time it may have been? I don't know if you guys have
I'm going to say 11 something. 11
Okay.
something.
Okay.
Maybe.
Is that when you finally got up, or is that the first time you woke up?
No, that's the time that I decided to get up because I figured he was downstairs on the laptop. So
Right.
let him look for jobs on the laptop, and then it usually I'll clean, he'll look for jobs, or vice versa, where I'll look for jobs and he'll clean.
Okay.
She's describing what she usually does, not what she actually did. She does confirm that she did stay in the bed, which further confirms what I said earlier, which is that she was lying about wondering where Mr. Torres was.
So you think you got out of bed after 11 at some point?
Yes.
Okay. But we can't recall which time. Do you think you were up for like hours before that, or
No.
collecting your thoughts?
Brian, because I was supposed to have my son today to pick
Okay.
him up from school. Brian usually calls to make sure, hey, are you sure you're getting Lucas today? Because I've had job interviews.
Right.
She didn't fully answer the question. She did say no to the question of whether she'd been up for hours, but then she switched into an explanation and refocused onto Brian. And I'm curious, how many job interviews had she had recently? I'd bet money that that's not the reason that she's sometimes unavailable for her son. Just for the sake of argument, let's say she did have job interviews. Would a responsible parent not let anyone know in advance that she wouldn't be able to pick up her child?
Are you going to pick up Lucas? So after he called, like, maybe 3, 4 times, maybe 5, I finally answered. And that's, like,
Do you think you were sleeping and missed those calls?
no, I ignored them.
You ignored them.
Because
Okay.
he's notorious for blowing up my phone.
Okay.
But I understand why, because he's making sure that Lucas gets home.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And to do whatever he needs to do day-wise so he can schedule around it.
He's notorious for blowing up my phone. This tells us there's a pattern of behavior, not just on Brian's part, but on Sarah's part. Brian blows up her phone because she's unreliable and he needs to make sure his son is taken care of. Another piece to this is how she herself is describing her treatment of both her son and Brian. Knowing that Brian is trying to ensure the child is taken care of and knowing Brian has to be able to plan his day, Sarah chose to ignore his calls. She has repeatedly demonstrated her priority is what she wants. She puts her wants over other people's needs. This is just another example. She said she finally answered, but she also said she called him. And note when she finally does speak, and note that when she finally does speak to Brian, it's because she wanted his help. Notice how successful Sarah's refocus has been. They're no longer talking about the details of what happened. And notice her cadence now. It's fluid.
Were you upstairs in your room at that time when you were ignoring those phone calls?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so not really sure what time you woke up initially, but you were upstairs collecting your thoughts. You figured he was on the laptop downstairs, so you were just getting ready for your day.
Yes.
You finally got out of bed at sometime after 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and had gone downstairs.
Yes.
Okay.
Looking for him.
Ooh, Sarah thinks she's clever by repeating the idea that she was looking for Mr. Torres, but she has just once again proven herself a liar. If she believes Mr. Torres is downstairs on the computer, she would not be wondering where he is and would have no need to look for him. She knew exactly where he was. If she'd truly forgotten, then we wouldn't be hearing this big story of her needing to go look for him at this point. The story would be different.
And
couldn't find him. Looked outside, couldn't find him anywhere. And
wasn't in the bathroom. I was thinking maybe he's in the bathroom.
The detective has modified Sarah's story, and that's too bad. It will make sorting it out later more difficult. Sarah didn't say she went looking on the back porch or the bathroom. She described thinking about this, and this was before she got out of bed. This is an example of someone repeating what they thought the person meant rather than what was actually said.
But then I came to and
then
remembered the suitcase.
That phrase came to again. She's awake, so this isn't about consciousness. It's not even came around to in her thinking. It's an odd choice of phrase. This interview is the only time I've heard her use this phrasing. If she'd used it other times or in other contexts, I'd think it was a regional linguistic variance. For those of you who live in Florida, is this a common phrase there in respect to something other than awaking? The detective interrupts her again, so it's hard to hear. But Sarah said, I remembered the suitcase. So it's not like she stumbled upon it or found him. She said she remembered. This may be important at trial.
And then you called Brian.
Yes.
Whose freaking statement is this anyway? The detective said, and then you called Brian. The question should have been, and then what? So we don't hear what happened, and we don't even hear like a different story, and we don't get additional indicators.
He
Told
came
him
over.
to come over.
Yes, he came over.
Lives down the road, right? Not very far. He came over, walked in, basically walked out. You called 911.
Yes, I had my phone in my hand. I just wanted to wait for him to get there because I didn't know what to do.
Right. Okay.
This is twice we're hearing she waited for Brian before calling 911, but we've also heard that she called 911 before Brian got there. We also heard on the 911 call that someone walked in and walked out and Sarah said, don't leave. So was that Brian or not?
And then we arrived.
Like, I don't know what happened.
She does sound bewildered. I think she means she doesn't know why he expired. But what did she think? In the middle of a huge fight, everything is suddenly silent. So we know he was suddenly incapacitated somehow and then stuffed into a suitcase, and then that suitcase with him inside was likely pushed or dropped down the stairs. At some point, Mr. Torres wakes up and he's begging to get out. He tells her he can't breathe. So what did she think? What did she think was going to happen when she left him in there? At what point did she plan on releasing him? What did she think was going to happen?
Like, I don't know what happened, but like my whole thing is the whole like teeth losing thing, and I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what happened.
And she's back to the idea of a pre-existing condition being the cause. Can't take responsibility.
I don't know he and I were having an amazing time yesterday like we normally do.
How many times is this now that she's inserted this concept? She is lying, by the way. And now she adds, like we normally do. Is she going to be claiming battered spouse? How does that work? If she claims the relationship was good and they normally have an amazing time.
No arguments?
No.
Nothing? Okay.
No arguments? No. That's her answer. Aside from witness statements contradicting this, her answer here is going to be a problem for her. If she'd said they had a big fight and she was afraid of him, she might be able to explain better. But she is so insistent that they were having a good day and now has said there were no arguments. What she has done, at the very least, is prove herself a liar. She has demonstrated she is not credible, and that is going to matter in court.
And the thing with him, though, is, which is why we've been doing puzzles and artwork lately, is that he's been stressing about a job, of course.
Of course.
Which we've talked about. So what I did was start having him do puzzles and artwork to keep his mind off of it.
Okay.
Notice the redirect. And again, she's painting herself as the savior and the victim as someone who is stressed out and in need of her intervention. Notice her language. She was having him do the puzzles, directing him, infantilizing him, having him do this, controlling.
His ex-wife is all over him about sending money, which he can't do because he doesn't have a job.
Right.
So he was stressing about that. He's been stressing about the job. But that's why I started to buy puzzles and paint to get his mind off of them, which is what I don't know if you noticed on the wall in there, it's all of our artwork and stuff.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, music, art, and playing with the dogs, dancing around the room with the dogs. And then decided to play hide and seek.
She's putting the focus and the blame onto other people. Him being stressed, the ex-wife, and of course, Sarah is the wonderful helper. And notice the switch from the general to the specific here. He's been stressed, the ex-wife, we've been doing art and music, and then the switch to the specific. And then decided to play hide and seek. And note, it's an incomplete sentence. She's obfuscating. Also note the absence of a pronoun. The sentence is, and then decided to play hide and seek. There's no pronoun. She doesn't say the expected we. Why is that, you ask? Well, because no one decided to play hide and seek.
Because we're always trying to outdo each other on where we can hide the best.
How often do you guys play hide and seek?
Gosh, that was maybe the third time? Maybe.
Okay.
We're always trying to outdo each other. Like this is a thing that happens a lot. But they've only played twice before that night. Maybe twice. Does anyone believe that they ever played? Or maybe they played with her child.
Is it a more recent game you've gotten into, or 3 times the total in your relationship you're talking about?
Lately.
Lately.
Because again, we were puzzled out. But we painted already, so why not?
So you were downstairs hanging out. Do you remember around what time you guys started playing hide and seek?
Honestly, I don't.
Do you remember if it was dark out?
It was dark.
Okay.
It was dark. But my thing is when I spend time with him and I tried to get him to start doing it, I don't look at the clock.
Okay.
I'm here with him and we're having a good time. I don't need to know what time it is.
Right.
Lots of pauses as she calculates. She said it was dark, but then she seems to be explaining why she doesn't know what time it was. In one sense, it doesn't matter because they didn't play hide and seek. So they're discussing what time an imaginary event happened. And again, the concept of having a good time is tossed in here. I hope the prosecutor counts all these. When Sarah goes to court and claims it was so horrible, all these having a good time statements can be presented to her. She also, again, leaks the fact that she is pretty much making him do what she wants. She says, when I spend time with him and I try to get him to start doing it.
I didn't know if you were on your phone, if you got a text message, if you got a phone call last night.
We called his daughters yesterday, FaceTime.
Right. What time was that at?
I don't know without looking at my phone.
Okay.
But ended up...
Would that be the only activity that you had yesterday on your phone?
I called Lucas. I talked to Lucas. He's my son.
Okay.
I always call him.
Morning?
No, it was evening.
Evening? Okay.
But
I'm just trying to help you, remember something you did right before hide and seek that would help you remember a time or give us a good time frame. Because that's important for, us to know. We want to be able to tell the doctors that.
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay. So when you called Lucas, was it before or after hide and seek?
Before.
Okay. And when you called and FaceTime his daughters, before or after hide and seek?
Before.
Okay. And did you call the daughters first and then Lucas, or Lucas first and then the daughters?
I know I talked to Lucas, but then we talked to the daughters afterwards.
Okay.
And I don't remember if she called us. No, I know he called Cookie. But yes, we called her.
What are the two daughters' names? Or just one? Did you say one
he
daughter?
He has three children. It's Anna, Cookie, but her real name is Destiny. And then he has a handicapped son, Georgie.
Okay. Who did you call, though, yesterday? Who did he call?
Cookie.
And what is Cookie's real name?
Destiny.
Does she have his last name or something else?
It's Torres. Because she remarried, but I don't know her last name.
Okay. Okay, so you know it's dark out, but you're not really sure what time it is. You play hide and seek. How long do you guys play hide and seek before he decides to get into the suitcase?
Oof. Wasn't really. I hid upstairs in the shower.
Oops. She hasn't worked all this out. She didn't answer the question about the time. Instead, she tells the beginning of a story of what she did. Interesting how the human mind works, eh? Her mind went to upstairs, specifically the shower. What happened upstairs? Remember, she'd earlier said they were downstairs. Of course, we know they were not playing hide and seek, but this is the story that the detective has to deal with. I would have asked specific questions about their game, like, where were each of you when you started the game? And when you hid in the shower, where was Mr. Torres? I mean, he had to close his eyes and count, right? Pretty good if you were able to sneak up the stairs without him hearing you.
Mm-hmm.
And then came downstairs because I was tired of hanging out in the shower.
Okay.
So that's when he was playing around in the suitcase. So.
Okay.
And she can't think of anything. So that's the end of the hiding in the shower. Notice the cadence. And they're supposedly playing hide and seek, and she's the hider. So why is he playing around in the suitcase instead of seeking? And the story is out of order, and she's hiding events. So first we have and then, and the explanation for coming downstairs is tacked on to the end. Instead of, I was hiding in the shower and waiting for him and he didn't come, so I went downstairs. She tacks that explanation onto the end. And notice the missing pronoun again. She said, came downstairs, omitting the I or we. And for Miss Merriam-Webster, her use of came instead of went is notable. She doesn't want to say what really happened upstairs, doesn't want to say who went downstairs, doesn't want to say how they came to be downstairs. What she's telling us is that something important happened upstairs, likely in or near the bathroom, and by the end of it, Mr. Torres was in the suitcase.
Because we both thought it was funny.
Notice 3 things in addition to her disfluency. The word because, the correction on the use of the pronoun I, and the missing interaction. He's playing around, whatever that means, in the suitcase because she has just stated right here that the suitcase was not part of the hide and seek game. She feels the need to explain why he was allegedly playing in the suitcase. Why the need to explain? No one asked. The interaction before that is missing. Did she find him playing around in the suitcase when she got downstairs? Sounds like that's not the case, because as she claims, both of them thought it was funny. So what had he been doing while she was purportedly hiding in the shower and waiting for him to find her? If he's playing in the suitcase because they both thought it was funny, well, what was the conversation or interaction that led up to it? Who came up with the idea? How did that come about? What was the conversation and activity that led up to that? Nothing. Just all the stuff she wants to hide. And the pronoun correction. She started to say, because I thought it was funny, and caught herself and changed it to we both thought it was funny. I'll let you hear that again.
Because we both thought it was funny.
She almost told the truth. Unintentionally, of course.
That, oh yeah, well, I'm going to zip you up. You didn't come look for me. So...
How old is she? 9? We both thought it was funny that I'm going to zip you up. You didn't come back to look for me. Pronouns tell you so much. It's clear that the intention behind the actions were hers and hers alone. And there's an element of revenge here. Even in her lying, she betrays this. It's not funny for another reason, not like, hey, want to see what I can do? I can make myself real small and hide in here. No, even the lie, even the story is about payback. And she thinks payback is funny. Even in her own words, he has no agency and no actual humanity. And then there's the so at the end that just trails off.
Again, it's a broken suitcase, but...
What do you mean by broken?
So again, and she changes the subject. She has to talk about something other than what she did. So she talks about the suitcase instead of her actions. And did you catch her tone when she said again? It sounded to me like it was tinged with anger. Did you hear the same thing? She does not like to be challenged. She wants others to accept her version of whatever the story is, whether it's about this or anything else. I wonder, how much will she be surprised at the evidence that's going to come out? I suspect that by now she has rewritten history, rewritten the story of that night so many times that the actual truth has been overwritten or buried in her mind. I don't think she wants to go to trial, really. She will have to face evidence that comes out. And she will have to face that other people will see the evidence of what she did. Her fantasy about herself won't hold up.
It's only got one of these. But because I didn't zip it up all the way, he was doing the...
You mean it doesn't have, like, the pull part?
Correct.
Okay, but
it's got a... I think it's got a... What do you call it? A paper clip.
Okay. So the zipper to it is missing. Like, the actual zipper that attaches to it to help you open and close is missing, but you think a paper clip was on it instead?
There is a paper... I believe there's a paper clip on it, because I know that the last
That's
time...
what you used to, like, help assist you?
Well, or you can just stick your fingers in there and...
Right, yeah. You
unzip it yourself, which is why I did not zip it up all the way.
Okay.
More than once now, she has said she intentionally didn't zip up the suitcase all the way. She thinks she's showing how smart she is, that she was careful. But this is going to backfire on her. If she knew she had to be careful not to zip it up all the way, that shows that she knew that forcibly confining him was wrong. And it may show she knew it was dangerous. And that makes her actions worse than reckless disregard. Also, previous to this, there was an incident in which she'd put her own son in a suitcase. She claimed that they were just playing, but now I'm not so sure. Anyway, allegedly, CPS spoke to her about this. If that's true, I hope the prosecutor obtains those records from CPS to show that someone informed her that confining a human being in a suitcase is dangerous. She can't claim she didn't know.
So how much did you zip it up?
I mean, I don't really know.
You said his fingers were able to stick out?
Yeah, two fingers.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm figuring he'll get it. He'll get it. But then I wanted to go upstairs and waited for him, and eventually I guess I fell asleep. I had the dogs in the bed with me, was warm, and then fell asleep.
Long pause at the end there. Also a long pause between the detective's question of how much did you zip it up and the beginning of Sarah's answer. There should have been no pause there at all. What she does say, finally, is, I don't know, but then the detective interrupts her and feeds her the answer. But then I wanted to go downstairs. But what? He's in the suitcase and can't get out. And even without the infamous video, we know that because Sarah lets us know right here with her minimization. He'll get it. That he was stuck and she knew it and she left him there. But he's trapped in the suitcase. But she wanted to go upstairs. She's admitting to the mental elements, knowing he was trapped, and she made a conscious decision to leave him there. She is not describing a drunken stupor. She's describing conscious thought and decisions. I point out the word wanted because it shows who she is. She puts her wants above other people's needs. This is a pattern with her. I note she wanted to go upstairs, not to go to bed. Why did she want to go upstairs? Was Mr. Torres still begging at that point, or had he fallen quiet? We know she called Brian. Why? And the I fell asleep that we've been hearing all along? Well, she chose to leave him there, and then, according to her own statements, she did other things. She went upstairs. She made a phone call. She hung out with the dogs. And all the while, Mr. Torres was trapped in that suitcase. She was not sleeping during all of this. She was awake and thinking and making decisions. And this is according to her own words. And if she's going to claim that Mr. Torres was a threat to her, then what did she think was going to happen when he got out of the suitcase if he could get out? She knew he couldn't get out. And let's say, for the sake of argument, she got him in there and then didn't know what to do with him. She could have called 911, but she didn't. She went upstairs. Conscious decision. Hung out with the dogs. Like everything was fine.
So you guys are joking. He's in there. You said you could see two of his fingers?
Yes.
And then, like, you just decided, okay, I'm going to go upstairs now? Or?
Because I figured he would get out and then go upstairs and have intimate relations like we normally do. Mm-hmm. But I fell asleep.
Okay.
And he never came upstairs. So, again, I'm thinking he's downstairs on the laptop earlier today. Okay. And then remembered.
Okay.
Throwing in the intimate relations to make it sound like everything was fine. And she's sure to add, like we normally do.
So, is this something that do you guys play hide and seek before you have sexual intercourse? Or do you guys just play hide and seek because you're bored and you're just trying to pass time and it's fun?
We were, again, puzzled out. Can't paint anymore. Even started to purge some of the art that's on the wall now. So,
and that's all there is. It just cuts off. Trust your gut. I'll see you in the comments.